I first noticed the door late one night when I got up to get a glass of water. I had lived in that apartment for almost 6 months at that point, and the layout was simple enough that I could walk through it in the dark without turning on the lights. Bedroom, hallway, kitchen, living room. That was it. Nothing complicated. But as I walked through the hallway that night, something immediately felt wrong. I stopped halfway and stared at the wall across from the bathroom. There was a door there, a small wooden door with an old brass handle, and I knew for a fact it had never been there before. At first I thought I was just tired. Maybe I had somehow never noticed it before, but that didn't make sense. The hallway was narrow. You had to pass that wall every time you entered the bedroom or bathroom. There was no way a door could have been there for 6 months without me seeing it. I walked closer and ran my hand across the surface of the wood. The door looked old, much older than the rest of the apartment. The paint was chipped, and the handle felt cold and loose when I touched it. For some reason, I suddenly felt very uneasy standing there, like opening that door would be a mistake. I didn't open it that night. I told myself I would ask the building manager about it in the morning. But the strange thing was that I couldn't stop thinking about it. Every time I walked past the hallway the next day, I glanced at the door. It looked completely normal sitting there in the wall, as if it had always been part of the apartment. That evening, curiosity finally got the better of me. I stood in the hallway staring at the handle for a long time before slowly turning it. The hinge creaked softly as the door opened. Behind it was nothing but darkness. I used my phone flashlight and pointed it inside. The beam revealed a narrow staircase going down. The steps were concrete and covered in dust, like they hadn't been used in years. The strange thing was that the building didn't have a basement. At least, not one that tenants could access. I had lived there long enough to know that. Still, the staircase continued downward into complete darkness. I stood there for almost a full minute, debating whether I should go down. Eventually, curiosity won. I stepped onto the first stair and slowly started descending. The air grew colder the farther down I went. After about 10 steps, the staircase opened into a small concrete room. The space looked unfinished, like some kind of maintenance area hidden beneath the building. There were old pipes running across the ceiling and a single bare light bulb hanging from a wire. But the part that made me freeze was what I saw on the floor. A chair, positioned directly at the bottom of the stairs, facing upward, facing the door I had just come through. It looked like someone had been sitting there watching the entrance, watching the door that shouldn't have existed. I backed up the stairs immediately and slammed the door shut behind me. My heart was racing so hard I could barely think. The next morning I asked the building manager about it. He looked confused when I mentioned the door in the hallway. He insisted there had never been a door there. When I brought him upstairs to show him, the entire wall was solid drywall again. No handle, no frame, no staircase, just a blank wall like it had always been. I moved out of that apartment 2 weeks later. But sometimes, late at night, I still think about that chair sitting at the bottom of those stairs, waiting for someone to open the door again.